So everybody knows about the famous Marshall pedals that came out in the early 90s, and they just recently reissued these. Most notably, the Blues Breaker with the blue writing and the Governor, which is actually the original Marshall pedal. But why does nobody talk about the DriveMaster and the ShredMaster? We're going to take a look at them and talk about it today in this video. So aside from just awful naming, there's really no reason for these pedals to be not popular because they sound really freaking good. They're actually the two newest of the batch. So the Governor was the first one that came out in the late 80s, and then followed by the Blues Breaker, which was around 92-ish. And first, the Governor gained so much popularity for its use by Gary Moore on the Still Got the Blues record. You could see it on the album cover, and he's actually my personal favorite player. I actually have an original Governor in my closet. I have a whole demo of it on the channel if you want to check that out. So we're not going to be doing the Governor today, but it became a big pioneer actually in the pedal world, because prior to that time in 1989 when this came out, the Governor I'm talking about, there was no amp in a box type of thing. This was like a new thing. So everybody was just making overdrive pedals at the time, and there was really no boutique market. So that's why the Governor gained so much popularity. And then once Gary Moore used it, it was like game over. This is the it pedal. Then you have the Blues Breaker, which, I mean, look, this guy, I forget his name. I think it's something like, oh, wow, what's his name? I think his initials are John Mayer. That guy used the Blues Breaker pedal, and that kind of made it the most famous overdrive because, hey, he's John Mayer. If he uses it, it becomes famous. What can you do? For right now, we're going to focus on the stepchilds of the line, which is the DriveMaster and the ShredMaster. So let's talk a little bit about what these are and what they're supposed to do. Starting with the ShredMaster, because I think it's the dumbest name I've ever heard for a pedal. I actually have an original one of these also, and a demo on the channel that I did a couple years back. The ShredMaster. When this came out in the 90s, it was kind of like on the back end of hair metal and shredding guitar playing. So I think that attributes to the lack of popularity with the ShredMaster. That being said, if you're a Radiohead fan, you've definitely heard Johnny Greenwood playing this ShredMaster on their records. He's really the only famous user that I know off the top of my head that I could think of with the ShredMaster, and clearly that music is not shred music. So I think that they just missed with the title here. If they just named as like the JCM pedal or something like that, I think it would have been a lot more popular. And then you have the DriveMaster, which according to Josh Scott, the guy that, influences the entire pedal industry at this point.
Right into the DriveMaster. Here is the honest truth. It is just the Governor with a better name and a cleaner look that matches the others.
So why would the DriveMaster not be popular? And I think it was just a little bit too late. There was no nerds like Josh Scott out there to analyze this stuff and figure all this stuff out. So everybody was so gung-ho on the Blues Breaker and the Governor that they kind of just forgot about the Shred and the DriveMaster. So that's a little bit of a background on these pedals and probably why they're not as popular. But today I'm going to hopefully change that with everybody that's watching this video and let you in on these are really great sounding pedals and there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. And I also want to thank my friends at Sweetwater for sponsoring this video and sending these pedals out to me for this crazy idea that I had for these pedals. There'll be links to these below if you want to check them out at Sweetwater. I highly recommend you check these out. All the links below are affiliate links. If you guys make a purchase, they give me a little bit of a kickback, so be greatly appreciated if you use those links. All right, so for the demo, I'll be using my 79 limited edition Les Paul Custom, the coolest guitar on earth, whether you like it or not. I'm going to be plugged into my 63 Bassman, and then I'm going into my 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X. I'm using their new 212 creamback closed back cabinet. I really love that cabinet. It's an awesome one. They just added it to the collection recently. And I'm going into my Warm Audio mic pre and my WA76 compressor, but it's not doing anything. It's basically just going direct in. Here is my not so clean sound. Middle position. And the neck. All right, so we're going to start off with the DriveMaster. By the way, in my demo of the original ShredMaster, these pots notoriously on the old ones got super scratchy and awful, and you wouldn't be able to turn them without it making a ton of noise. You also might notice my clean tone isn't clean. It's not how I roll. I don't want a pristine, clean sound. I'm using a Fender Bassman, a little bit of breakup, exactly where I want it to be. Let's hit this DriveMaster. See how we do. Pretty much nails it. I mean, that's a great sound if you ask me. I mean, I love that type of Marshall vibe. Literally turns your Fender amp into a Marshall. That's without even adjusting anything. Let's just fly through a couple of settings, and then we're going to get to the shred. Max out that gain first. So you see you've got a pretty wide range of gain from a little edge of breakup type of sound to full-blown distortion. Really awesome. Let's keep the gain roughly about a little bit past noon. Now, what's really cool is you could hear the frequencies shifting when you adjust these knobs. So let's take a look at what each one of them is going to do. One thing you'll notice about these two is they all have one sweet spot. This low end knob in particular seems to like this spot here where it's going to do a lot from that little sweep. Let's leave that about there. Check out the mid knob. I mean, I think that sounds great. You could hear that each knob has its own little sweet spot. All of them are pretty usable until they're all the way down, which is way better than the vintage pedals. As far as the mid knob goes, I wouldn't make this a mid scooped sound like the ShredMaster will be. So you see this thing's perfectly capable of being the awesome amp in a box that the Governor is. Again, same amp, different enclosure and different name. So let's get into the ShredMaster here. Here's the bypass tone and then all knobs at noon. Something about the ShredMaster is that it's very knob dependent, and luckily I know this from working with my old one. There's only a couple of usable settings until it gets really good. So let's try to find that here. Well, first of all, let's talk about this contour knob. The contour is like a mid-focus knob. It'll also enhance the high end and low end as you crank it up, but it's definitely like a, you have to find the low end, find the mid range that it's going for. Let's jack the gain up and mess with that that contour knob. So you hear when it's all the way up, it actually scoops all the mids out. which is definitely not my vibe. So I'm going to... So you can hear, even with the gain up and messing with the controls, this is by no means a shred pedal. I wouldn't call this a high gain pedal at all, even with the gain maxed out. All right, maybe it gets a little bit of a high gain when it's all the way cranked up. Oh, it's fun to get carried away doing this. And let's... So it's got kind of that characteristic of real Marshall amps where the treble knob, I feel like, sounds best cranked up. I mean, you tell me, where does that sound best? Now let's test the sweep of the bass knob all the way up. Versus all the way down. So that is the two unsung heroes of the Marshall pedal lineup, the two that are most readily available and easy to find. Nobody's going after these things for literally no reason. I think they both sound phenomenal. Like I said, the DriveMaster is just the same exact thing as the Governor, which is probably one of the most popular ones and never in stock. The ShredMaster, don't let the name deter you. Don't let the first settings deter you. Once you dial in the contour and the treble knob, this thing is a beast, really turns your amp into a real Marshall gainy amp. Both of these do their own separate thing, their own special way, and I really love them, and I think you like them too. Check out all the links below to Sweetwater, and again, thank you to them for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or other, leave them in the comments below, and I'll get right back to you. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.